Emotions in commercial real estate typically do not mix. Today, I want to talk about a real life scenario of a property that I own, that I've owned for 14 years, and give you kind of the simple math on what has been the case and what will be the case when my very low interest rate of 7 years fixed at 3.55% now moves to a market interest rate of close to 8%. So stay tuned for this. I think it's an interesting perspective, and I also think it points to potential distress that we're going to see in the coming 1, 2, 3 years as more of these loans roll from very cheap money to more 7.5, high 6s to high 7s, we will say, on new interest rates. So, and it also speaks to the amount of emotional connection that we see in the marketplace with investors that get tied to properties not for the right reasons. So I'm going to give you this example and we'll kind of feel out where this goes. 4 units, prime location, North Park, 80s construction, 4 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath townhomes, 1,050 square feet, contiguous, 1, 2, 3, 4. Primo North Park, kind of down by South Park, Thorn Street. 7-year fixed loan, 3.55%. The payment for the last 7 years has been $3,300. If I don't do anything, it rolls in August to a payment that's about $7,000. So call it $3,800 to $4,000 of cash flow per month whacked completely off the table. That's a legitimate number. Now, this is an asset that I've never thought I would sell. And I don't know exactly if I'm going to sell it, but I want to play out these numbers. After I've collected so much cash flow from this property from 2010 when I purchased it, so 14 years, cash flow, equity, I refinanced it 3 times. Each time I pulled cash out, the property's still, I call it the ATM. It's a cash cow, which a lot of the old investors say, cash cows. Why kill the golden goose? We heard that a lot in the brokerage business. So this golden goose cash flow deal or cash cow, I never thought I would sell it because there's emotional attachment to the track record of it. And also the fact that it's been really easy. The tenants are nice. People pay on time. If there is a turnover once in a while, I've got 10 applications, even when I push the rent to market. It's just a simple, really sweet cream puff deal. Now, if I look at what my return is after the refinance. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I have a blast doing these weekly videos. I hope they add value to you holistically in the real estate business and in life. I know everybody says this, but if you want to support me, please click on the like button below, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to talk about anything personally with your real estate goals or interests, chris@mangotreerealestate.com. Or you can go to my website, which is pretty slick, mangotreerealestate.com. Now back to the video. At almost 8% interest only, because there's 3 more years of interest only. It's like 2.5%. That's even after I've raised some recent rents as much as I can, almost 9% per rent control. So what we're dealing with is, if I keep this property, a very low return on equity. Now my loan's about $900K. The asset's worth $2.5 million, give or take. So the loan to value is very low. This is not the book probably tells me to sell this property, 1031 exchange it, move the equity keep it rolling, move that thing into an 8 unit, a 10, a 12, a 14 unit, get a new 60, 65% loan, max out the leverage and keep expanding. Now I'm moving from an asset that brings in this much gross income to a building that will be a project for a year or 2, even with the rent control, but with potential of much larger gross income. So very interesting time that we're in the middle of 2024 with these these adjusting loans. And it's giving me, the self-proclaimed apartment geek or consultant, a very capable guy that helps a lot of wealthy investors, it's giving me this really interesting puzzle to look at with this property on what makes the most financial sense. And it would be very easy for me to do nothing and stay emotionally connected to this property that I've had for 14 years and just kind of stick with it because it's comfortable and this and that. Whereas, I always think of when you're playing blackjack and you're showing an 11, you double down. This is kind of an opportunity where it's like the cards are pointing towards more potential for more greater return. Yes, more work and more of a project, but probably more juice too. So very interesting time. Run your numbers, look at your loan docs. I've looked at refinancing this particular asset we've talked about and fixing in the rate with principal and interest, and the payment goes way up. And most banks are implementing pretty strict prepayment penalties right now. So if you refinance at 6.6%, which is an option I have, you're tied to a pretty strict prepay of 5%, 4, 3, 2, 1 over 5 years, which is not very attractive if you want to sell that building moving forward. You have to sell it. Or if rates go down in 25, 26, you're kind of stuck. So I like this idea of possibly writing out adjustable rates on interest only if you can. This initial 7-year loan I'm talking about was 7 years fixed with a 10-year interest only period. So that's kind of a little bit of a saving grace for me that I don't have to pay that principal off originally or initially. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you soon.